a little better than that. Come on.
Thank you. How are you? Good. Everyone's good?
Yeah.
All right.
You have two legs.
Sounds better. This one must be for the other head that I keep at home in my closet. I was going to bring it.
So I want to talk about
Use the
magnetic
wired
thing
one.
going on.
Use the wired one.
The wired one.
This is the part you get edited out on YouTube.
This way.
How's that? So I wanted to talk about a couple of things, and not always the obvious. But I guess, was there a moment today and yesterday when somebody did not ask you about The Walking Dead?
No, I don't think that's happened in a long time. Which is a good thing. So,
You have
thank you.
you have some amazing credits. In the Heat of the Night, Cold Blood, The Right Stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing movie. One of my favorite films, and on and on. Let's not talk about Walking Dead right now, just a second. So what's a personal favorite role of yours?
That, you mean in anything?
In anything.
Well, getting my
theater.
first role was incredible. I mean, after doing plays, which I loved, and workshops for 5.5 years, got my first film interview in the Heat of the Night. And then I'm working with Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. Are you kidding? I mean, that's pretty classy comedy to be starting out with. So it was cool. I'm chewing this chewing gum, and I was just thinking of Steiger chewing the gum in that film. But that was, you know, a good start. That was a good start.
So that was like a memory that stayed with you all this time, like it's such a potent, strong, vivid.
Well, I don't think about it every day.
No, but when asked.
And when asked, you know, I go back to that. And then that leading to In Cold Blood, which was a pretty good film too. So it was a good opening.
Yeah. Now, we'll jump ahead a few years. The Ninth Configuration, which is a very interesting movie. It touches a lot of different areas. Amazing performances. Do you have any stories about that film?
How much time do you have? I mean, we were in Budapest for 17 weeks, and that was during the Iron Curtain days. And it was quite interesting. A lot of great actors who were also great characters. William Peter Blatty, who's great talent, but also a great character. It was a lot of fun working on it. It was, and again, it's behind the Iron Curtain, which added to all kinds of. It would take a long time to write it, but I had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of memories. I left my home state of Georgia when I was 19. I hitchhiked to California. And I got drunk and ended up in an acting class. I wanted to see some of the world, and I have. Now I'm here in New Jersey. This is a major part of the world right here.
Yeah, New Jersey is almost like the capital of the world to some people.
Yeah, it's great. I love the people here. They're terrific. But the first film out of the country was in Yugoslavia, what was Yugoslavia at the time. And then I worked in Italy and Spain and Japan and Israel, Germany, Poland, South Korea, Georgia, and that's another country of its own. Couldn't get away from it, but but it's been a fun life. Had 2 audiences with Pope John Paul II.
Yes, you told me about that personally.
Yeah.
Would you like to share with them? Like, maybe not everyone knows about that. How did that come about?
Well, I did a film in Poland in 1984 that during martial law, if you know what, if you remember that, if those of you who are old enough to remember it. And it was a Polish film with a Polish director, a Polish cast. I mentioned that because 9 years we talked about doing it. We finally got the film made. Then we won the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival with it. That was pretty cool. And the same director later asked me to play the protagonist in a film that was based on a play that Karol Wojtyła, who later became Pope John Paul II, wrote. And this guy who lived from 1845 to 1917. He was an artist, a successful artist, and he came in contact with the homeless and he changed his life. He dedicated the balance of his life to helping the homeless. And then Mother Teresa's sister studied with the Albertine sisters, an order that he founded before they went to India to help the poor there. So as a result of that, we had a screening for the Pope at Castel Gandolfo, the summer residence outside Rome. That was the second one. The first one was in Krakow in Poland. So it was, and I asked him to sign my script, which was a breach of protocol, but I asked the director, I said, do you think it'd be all right if I asked him to sign my script? He says, oh. He says, what does oh mean? He said, well, it'd be a breach of protocol. I said, but he might, he's a rebel. So I screwed up my courage and asked my wife to give him the script.
It's an amazing story.
And he signed it.
Yeah. Now, The Right Stuff. Years later, do you have a particular remembrance about that film?
Well, I loved it. I know it was coming off of a stretch of 4 years that I hadn't worked, which is pretty nerve-wracking. If you knew you weren't going to work for 4 years, you might think of doing something else. But I didn't know a day at a time, and I think I couldn't have been more fortunate to come out after a 4-year dry spell to get to be in that film, because I think it's a great movie. I think it's wonderful. Real American heroes. The test pilots, the astronauts. Real nice film to say I was in.
Do you have any particular recollection of anything that happened during the making of that movie?
Oh, there's several. Really, I remember when I met Chuck Yeager, who was the first pilot to break the sound barrier. And I walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me, General Yeager. I'm Scott Wilson. I'm playing one of the test pilots." Big smile. He says, "Who are you playing?" I said, "Scott Crossfield." He goes, and walked away. That kind of told me all I needed to know about the competition between the test pilots.
Right.
No, but later his son came up and talked to us and talked to me, and he got us together and we became friends. So he's a great guy. He was wonderful, but I understood where he was coming from, and I didn't need to ask too many more questions.
You have real, loyal members.
That's cool. I'm great. I love it. Thank you.
I always ask about you, and they filled this room. I have stuff I want to talk about, but I know that these people open. I have questions. So, does anybody have a question? All the way.
What was your experience like working on the Gypsy Moths?
Oh, that was great. That was the second film I did with Burt Lancaster. First one was Castle Key, and I was in Yugoslavia with him for about 6 months. And I got a call one morning after. I don't know. I got a call from him one morning, and he says, "Kid, I got a great role for you." I said, "Who is this?" He said, "It's Burt." I said, "Burt who?" He says, "Burt Lancaster." I said, "Burt, call me back in 30 minutes. Let me take a shower and get a cup of coffee." I think I'd reverted back at that time to having a drink before, but he called me back and told me about the role, and then John Frankenheimer called me, and I was on a plane that afternoon flying to Kansas. He was, I thought the world of Burt. He was a great guy. I miss him.
Yes.
Question: how would you say you got involved with the character of becoming Herschel, and also do you think that you relate very well to his personality? And knowing the fact that he was going to die in the series, would you have still taken the role?
That's 3 questions.
Well, I think the way I got involved was Frank Darabont, when he was going to film school, was a big fan of the 9th configuration that we've talked about earlier. I think he told me he went to see it 12 times, and each time he took a different group of people with him. So he liked that film, and actually before I arrived on the set of The Walking Dead, he gave the rest of the cast members copies of In Cold Blood and the 9th configuration, so they would know, who was joining them. Because a lot of them were younger, and probably, maybe they knew me, maybe not, but he wanted to make sure. So that's how I got on the film. Now, what was your...
Would you say that you relate to the character as, like, do you put some of your relations of how you act and how your personality is into the role of the character?
Well, I think it's inevitable you're going to put some of yourself, a lot of yourself, in motion. Doesn't mean it's the same thing that you live with every day, but everyone has things where you make discoveries about yourself in relationship to the characters you play. I've played good guys and I've played bad guys. Herschel was a good guy, and it's fun to play a good guy that has a little edge to him, because I think that's one thing that made him interesting, is that he was human. He did, go to the bar and get drunk. It was suggested that he had an adventuresome life before, settling down, raise his 2 daughters. But there's a lot of, Did that answer anything?
I just want to know, would you have still taken the role knowing that you were going to die?
I think everyone on the show knows they're going to die soon.
They're coming for you.
No one gets out of this life alive.
It's only a matter of time, I guess, before they all go.
And the show ended life.
Yes, sir.
Seeing that Herschel had so many limitations, how far do you think he could throw a wiffle ball?
Or do I think what?
How far could he throw a wiffle ball? I'm not actually.
He could probably hit it further with his crutch than he could throw it.
Anyone on this side? Yes, sir.
Yeah, would have you did something different if say, you had the choice of how the governor's demise would have been?
You know, I'm always thinking, you don't want to die. You know you're going to, but that doesn't mean you want to.
The governor. I mean,
Yeah, I know, but he was taking me out. Maybe I should have jumped up and taken him out. I mean, that's. But David Morrissey did a great job. He's a good guy. Play golf, he beats me. That's the worst part.
I think that was like one of the most shocking scenes. And like a contemporary television series that you're watching, and all of a sudden you become invested in becoming in the characters, become invested in your character. And it's like a big oh shit moment.
But you know what was fun, I think, about the scene for me was the way it was set up before. You have this big tank down the bottom of the hill with the governor. You have these cars with heavy-duty weaponry. And they're shouting, the governor's shouting up to the prison, come on down. And Rick starts walking down the hill with a 6-shooter on his hip. With a tank and these heavy-duty weapons. I'm saying, what's wrong with this picture? It's like high noon with a 6-shooter against the tank. I love the staging.
Yeah, it was almost surreal.
Yeah, it was
Very surreal.
yeah.
You're not even sure when that moment happened that you actually watched that, because that was the last thing you saw before I went into like I think it was a Talking Dead episode.
But that was fun. But film is a collaborative medium. I mean, everyone comes together to make a moment happen, and that's an example of it. The stage was set, the table was set. Stage was set, and with the weapons, the gun coming down, the tension is kind of percolating, it's building, and then at a certain point, the director, Mr. Dickinson, came up and says, Scott, it's time for that smile. Okay, boss. It was, so I've smiled. That was my contribution. It was a cool day. All the crew and even up in the front office, everyone came down to the set. They were all wearing Herschel suspenders. Walk on the set, they're applauding, and it's kind of got you a little choked up. It was cool.
After that, Herschel made an appearance. Flashback. So, which I was surprised to see. Anyway, next question. Yes?
How did you feel when you found out your character was so loved?
It made you feel good. In contrast, you want to hear a contrast. I was in Dubrovnik, Yugoslavia, when In Cold Blood was released in this country. And I hadn't seen anyone that had seen the film, audience members. And I was in a hotel at the desk with an actor by the name of Michael Conrad. He's a big talker. And these two girls came up to us, and one of them said to him, "You look familiar." And I said, "He's a movie star. You recognize him from the movie." And one of them said to me, "You look familiar." And he said, "You recognize him from his movie?" I said, "Yeah, what movie?" In Cold Blood. He goes, and they started screaming and getting away from me, as backing up as fast as they could. So I think I would prefer people liking me than backing up screaming. It was good because, the film, a film or play is different in that you recognize the full arc of your character in a play in one evening, or in a film or a guest shot on TV. You recognize the full arc while you're doing it. In this, there's 3 seasons where you're there's kind of an organic development that takes place. And so you're not really sure where it's going to go, how it's going to get there, but you will plant a seed here and hope that it bears fruit over there, and that maybe it'll add up to something. So you have ideas about who you want the character to be, how you want it how you want the character to play out, and the writers, the editors, and directors. It's a collaborative, so it's fun.
I know I had a tear. I felt really bad when you died. Really bad. I was like, wow.
You should have heard my banker.
Yeah, you were there when Frank Darabont was there, and then the next producer, and then there was another producer after that. Were you there for all three?
For all three of the showrunners, yeah.
Wow. And
They're
did you feel like they were taking your character in different directions? Or
Well, they were, Frank was there when I first got there. And actually, I was at home for my mother's 97th birthday, and which is pretty cool. She'll be 101 in May. So I was there for her birthday, and I was remarking to an old friend of mine that as long as I've been acting, as much production has taken place in Georgia, I've never worked with. 30 minutes later, the phone rang. My representative said, there's interest in you for 2 or 3 episodes of this new TV series. I said, what's it about? He said, zombies. Okay, tell me some good news. Not that I did have anything against zombie movies. But he said, Frank Darabont and Gil Ann Hurd. I said, I'm interested.
yeah.
Because they make great movies. They're creative people. They're involved in something that has a good chance of being something special. So I looked at the first season with my mother, and she says, Scott, you have to do this. I didn't know she liked zombie movies. And then she read the script. She said, can I read the scripts? I said, who's going to stop me? You can still kick my ass. But she read them, and again she said, Scott, you really have to. Not that that's right, but I hadn't paid price. No. So it was. I don't remember what we were talking about.
No, I was asking about being there for all 3 different producers.
Yeah.
And if they tore you in
Well,
different directions.
I'll be going to Toronto next week to work with the second one, Lynn Lazar. He's doing a new series, showrunner on Damien. That's based on the old film Omen.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be fun to work with.
Is that be a one shot or a recurring?
Well, it's one shot, but I read the script. It looks to me like
Yes.
I'm just wondering what your take is on the current situation with Bruce Jenner.
I missed that one. I haven't really paid that close attention. I read it in yesterday's newspaper, Salvador's article about his choice. I didn't really read the whole thing.
So you won't get on the internet. Scott Wilson says. I see a long hand back there. Yes.
Scott, did you follow the books at all? Because Kirkman kind of had his way in the comic books, and he went one way. He comes into the TV show, and he's kind of having his cake and eating it too, and he says, well, now I can go back and revisit this. Is there if you've read into the comics at all, have you ever say, "Oh man, I wish he had stayed true to the book," or "Wish he hadn't stayed true to the book"?
That's the reason I didn't read the books,
Oh, really?
because I know me, and I know that if there was something in there that I felt strongly about, that I would stand up for. And I felt that it was working just fine the way it was, with the writers coming to me with material, me making the choices that I made as an actor based on that rather than on, you know, the source material. But I will read it. I will catch up.
You got, yeah, especially where, you know, where the governor, you know, meets his end. That's a major turning point there, and it's, you know, it really zagged where the book zigged.
Yeah, I've heard that about a lot of.
Yeah.
Going to shift gears a little bit here. I'm going to ask you about CSI. And I thought you did a good job on that actor, the way you were portraying that character. I thought he actually really had a problem. But, you know, any thoughts about your time on CSI? And, well, getting it back to what everyone's talking about, do you think that it had any influence on the way that your character on the Walking Dead?
I enjoyed working on the show. I worked with Danny Cannon on a film called Judge Dredd. The director of Judge Dredd directed the pilot, was one of the executive producers on CSI. And he called me and asked me if I played this role in the casino in Vegas. And I said, sure, without reading it. Because, you know, I liked him. So we got there, and then he asked me back the next season, asked me if I wanted to revive the character for another episode, and then turned into a few more. So it was, they killed me off there too.
Is Scott's mic cutting out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, better.
Is better?
Yeah.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
It's chiller, anything.
There you go.
Do you continue to watch The Walking Dead, and what's that experience like as a spectator as opposed to, you know, being involved in the discussion?
I kind of binge watch them mostly. I'm still in contact with almost all of the people. Andrew Lincoln beat me at golf the other day. They all kick me. But it's fun.
One more question. All the way to back. Yes.
Do you think that the writers from The Walking Dead had it in for the Green family?
There's only one left. Okay, but there's, well, I think there are only like 5 left from the first season. 1 left from the second season. And maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 from the third season. Not too many. No, I don't think they have it in for everyone. They have it in for everyone.
Any more?
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming, and I really want to thank Scott for being here. Thank you so much.